Best Record Player 2020, the best turntable for vinyl. The best record players are more in demand than ever. Even though Record Store Day this year was sadly cancelled due to there being no record stores. Vinyl is having a resurgence and sometimes can be found as a free gift with Amazon Echo products, figured that one out. But in general, records are a bit of a waste of time and quite a lot of money if you don't have the best record player or turntable to spin it on. That's where this handy list comes in. If you've been thinking of making the first move into analog musical appreciation, but are baffled by the choice of turntables available, we have a possible solution, a big list of turntables. Starting with our favorites, and then continuing with more great choices arranged in descending order of price. All you need to do is work out your budget and pick a player. We have listed our favorites at 10 key price points from £150 to around £5,000, and there are Bluetooth wireless record players, USB record players, DJ decks and more. Now, finding the best record player is no longer like looking for a stylus in a haystack. Record Store Day, in April, is when everyone usually gets super excited about exclusive releases such as the special remix of Venus that Bananarama put out last year. That's how prestigious it is, and why it's rapidly become an institution, propelling the resurgence of vinyl, and helping to keep the dwindling band of shops that sell records and other physical media alive. However, a more suitable place to find deals on cheap record players is Amazon Prime Day. Although that was also cancelled this year, Amazon has rescheduled it for later in the calendar. Slightly easier setup and nicer looks means we narrowly favor this over those other mid-market perennials, the Rega Planar 1 and Audio-Technica AT-LP5. Setup is a mite fiddlesome. You have to attach not one but two counterweights to the tone arm. And fitting the rubber band that drives the turntable doesn't feel terribly futuristic either. However, once you're done, the Project Essential 3 sounds great for the money. With a truly expansive and enjoyable sound across a range of genres and volume levels. It also looks very pleasing, in a variety of high-gloss finishes. A Bluetooth version, Project Essential 3 BT, is also available for £320. Unlike the Alva TT, below, and Audio-Technica's AT-LP5 further below, it's only SBC Bluetooth, but it sounds remarkably good. All things considered, and obviously setup, in terms of placement, is rendered far simpler when no audio cables are required. If the last few entries were sonically impressive but rather costly, this is where we start hitting the cost-to-benefit sweet spot. This thing is built like a battleship. Sounds wondrous, yet is eminently affordable. This direct drive turntable comes with the exclusive high-performance AT-95EX cartridge fitted to a J-shaped tone arm that allegedly helps minimize tracking errors. It's very solid. Anyway, as with the other Audio-Technica deck in this list, you have the choice of line or phono level output. But here there's also a USB output for vinyl ripping japes. Pouring all this Japanese brand's 60 years of turntable expertise into one mid-price device. The AT-LP5 should give pleasure for decades to come. And could also conceivably survive a nuclear attack. The original range of Technics SL1200 and SL1210, the only major difference between them was the former was silver and the latter black, rightly became iconic as rock-solid DJ turntables. That Technics has now reinvented them as high-end, high-price retro fetish items seems a bit odd. Then, you can still buy old SL1210s online that will probably work fine. Those things were built to last. Or you could spend £1,000 more and get this, or £2,000 more and get the even more upmarket SL1210G. However, while we wouldn't take this out clubbing, it most definitely sounds better than the old classics. Despite having similarly great, timeless looks, it's the ultimate deck for gently maturing ravers. Probably the best of the new wave of USB turntables. This Sony one lets you rip MP3, lossless or high-res audio, with unusually good, bespoke software. To be honest, you can rip at high resolution from any turntable with the right app. But this one actually justifies the effort with the quality of its output. Even if you're just ripping to MP3, or even, bizarre, I know, using it to listen to records on, via the digital or phono level audio outputs. Sonic results are big, detailed and consistently impressive. Project dominates the UK entry to mid-price turntable market thanks to its tie-up with richer sounds. And the fact that its products are jolly good. This slightly offbeat special edition boasts a carbon fiber tone arm of the same type used on certain high-end Linn turntables. And an acrylic platter, sat on a high-gloss plinth of purest MDF. Well, all of these materials are deemed highly favorable to the sonic results. You see, whatever the science of it, the result is a belt-driven turntable with a superb, focused sound and a highly attractive look. Both build and audio are like what you'd expect from a much pricier deck. A cartridge is included, but there's no pre-amping here. There have been Bluetooth turntables before, but this one is the real game changer because it uses an exhausting array of analog to digital trickery. Plus aptX HD to give high-res, better than CD quality sound. Wirelessly, Bluetooth setup is a little fiddly, but once you've paired your headphones and wireless speakers or receiver, we used a Naim Unity Atom plugged into a pair of monitor audio silver speakers, and figured out how to switch from one to the other. You're pretty much set for life. You could argue that there are £1,500 turntables out there that sound better. But if you want fantastic audio without having to worry at all about where you place your record player, the Alva TT could be your dream machine. Longtime UK knights of the turntable, Rega continue to turn out excellent entries in the low to mid-range area. The planar one is multi-award winning, with a very refined sound, yet eminently affordable. Setup can be a little odd, as Rega does not use an earthing wire, unlike the majority of turntables. This should make things simpler, but in some houses you may find you get mains hum, which can prove difficult to resolve. As this is more of a proper, hi-fi deck, there's no built-in preamp here, so you will need to buy a separate one, or possess an amp that includes a phono stage. The price may be entry-level, but the sound is most certainly not. The only thing with Rega turntables is they're even more demanding in terms of positioning than other more old-school record players. If you have lights with dimmer switches or can't place it away from electric cabling, you will probably get hum. You can only hear it when the tone arm is nearing the middle, but if you get it, it will piss you off. DJ turntables used to be a huge market, and there are still brands gamely trying to take on the market, dominating Technics SL1200 and 1210. Despite over 40 years of consistent failure to do so. Chief amongst these are Stanton and Newmark, who serve up this multi-speed deck for a ton. It is decidedly plasticky but has a bit of heft to it. And setup is simple, because the output is line level rather than requiring a phono preamp. That said, output is on the quiet side. But feed it through a half-decent mixer into an amp, and you get perfectly acceptable results. For the money, it's definitely more of a house deck than a hip-hop one. Don't even think about scratching with it, you'll ruin your records and the needle. I wouldn't say we're quite in the realm of proper hi-fi with this turntable, which retails around the £200 mark. However, we could be said to be at its borders, having our passport eyed suspiciously by a man in a blue uniform. The die-cast aluminium platter, thick, vibration-quelling rubber mat and damped bass for reducing bass feedback are all hallmarks of a more grown-up record player. And sound quality is again a noticeable step up from the cheaper models. Setup remains easy, but here you have the switchable option of line level or phono level output. The cartridge is easily replaceable with a range of others, should you want to tweak its sonic characteristics. Audio-Technica also does the AT-LP5, which is quite a similar record player. Costs £170 and includes aptX and AAC Bluetooth for massively convenient connectivity, and setup, being wireless, means you can place it anywhere you like, without having to worry about where your Bluetooth speaker or amp is. Not the most attractive turntable ever to roll off a production line, this Marantz is nonetheless a solid bargain. Again, it has a cartridge included and outputs at line level, so no phono preamp is required. Given its small footprint, that helps make setup a doddle. Audio is a noticeable step up from the first two turntables, although still by no means hi-fi. But what makes it really cherishable is that the tone arm moves onto the record on its own. at the press of a button. Then, when it reaches the end of the side, it lifts off and returns to base, rather than sticking in the run-out groove and making a static whine noise indefinitely. Unfortunately, however, it stubbornly refuses to turn the record over for you. You can buy cheaper record players than this, but most decks below £150 are a bit suspect in terms of sound quality. We find Macintosh gear is on the pricier end of the scale, and this is actually entry level by its standards. Very simple to set up. It's a truly epic sounding deck. Unlike Macintosh's other turntables, which look like something from a mad scientist's lab, this just looks like a record player. 2. Which is a bonus. You could argue it's hard to justify paying this much for a turntable when you can get the fully wireless, similarly desirable looking Cambridge Audio Alva TT for several thousand less. But if you have the money, a suitably high-end stereo to plug it into and golden ears, you may find the step up in cost worthwhile. Text source, t3.com.